Good morning.
Morning.
How's everyone?
Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
All right. You're doing better than me.
Don't feel that way.
Did you get your credit card figured out, Carrie?
Yes. My credit card that went to downstream without me.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Sound kind
Hi,
of
Kate, and Rachel, and Carrie, and Pam, and Steve, and everybody else.
We've already talked today, Diane. You didn't need to say good morning to me.
I don't want you to feel left out.
You've already been in my office.
Uh-oh, now they know you called me into your office.
Oh, I
I'll
didn't mean
say
it.
hi to Diane. I like her.
I didn't mean it that way. I didn't mean you were in my office that way.
I don't think Steve Campbell has even spoken to me.
Carrie Klein. Actually, you know what?
Right here.
Actually, I have something I want to say about you today at the meeting, but I want to wait. No,
Whoa.
it's something nice. I'm going to say something very nice about you.
I feel like I should spike my tea or something.
I want to profess my love for you here.
Okay, thank you. It's about time someone did.
But good morning. I'm sorry I didn't say hi to you. There's people popping on now. I can't keep up.
All right, I need Rachel to profess
It is
her love.
always a delight to see Carrie.
Always profess my love for you, Carrie. I adore you.
It is always a delight to see you, Carrie. Your shining face.
Okay.
Man, he's laying it on thick this morning.
What does he want from her?
Exactly.
Yes, Carrie, what does he want from you?
Steve and I have this kind of relationship. I depend on it.
Carrie, you always bring a smile to our faces.
We have what kind of relationship, Carrie?
The kind where you schmooze and I'll be like,
it's not. Okay. Look, let me tell you something about Steve Campbell. I do not schmooze. If I do not like someone, they are well aware of it. I do not hide things very well.
And Steve knows I love him too, because if anybody has any problems, I'll be like, get Campbell on it.
I just have the biggest mouth. That's not good. That's
no,
not a good
it's not
thing.
That. You're tall and blonde, and you're like you dominate your space.
I'm a tall, leggy blonde. Is that what you're telling me?
Tall, leggy blonde. I am not.
I feel like I'm in the wrong place this morning.
Me too.
I don't know, but Diane just gathered some really good, juicy stuff there.
Oh gosh, I have so much.
I'm writing it all down too.
Diane and I need to have lunch.
Yeah, we do.
No need to write it down. It's being recorded.
Oh, that's right.
Hi, Michael.
Hello.
How are you?
Nice to see you again this week.
Right, twice.
Yes.
I know.
I get to do this a whole lot.
I
know. Yay, me.
You're so fun.
Do you have your giant microphone, Mike? Let's see. No, you don't have
your. You just have a headset. Oh,
that's his point.
I put it away. It was giving me too many troubles.
It ruins. I had a nickname for you now. I was calling you Big Mike because you had that big microphone, and now I can't call you Big Mike anymore because you don't have it. Really disappoints me.
Yeah, I'm not going to go into this psychoanalytical.
Oh, I didn't mean it psychoanalytically. No,
Everybody loves
you had a big microphone. Your name was Michael. I thought Big Mike was a perfect nickname for you, but only the cool kids have nicknames. So you should have felt very fortunate to have one.
Oh, okay. Well, then thank you for the nickname.
I've never had a nickname. I've never been that cool to have a cool nickname.
You want a nickname? What would your nickname be?
No, because I'm sure if I had one, it would be something I thought was horrible. I didn't want it if someone else gave it to me. You know.
I thought you were just coined tall, dark, and no, tall,
Oh yeah,
blonde, and
tall,
leggy.
blonde, and leggy. Is that a nickname or just horrifying? I think that's just horrifying.
I vote Steve-O.
Oh, I think that's from that movie. The guy from the movie Jackass. He already has that nickname. I can't steal his nickname.
You kind of said a mouthful right there.
You don't know who I'm talking about?
I do. Just when you use the word jackass.
Oh, what's the name of the show? The movie. I can't. I can't censor it.
We just have to call you Campbell because you're not Potter.
I get called the other Steve a lot whenever Potter's around.
I know.
And then I get Campbell's another one. I get Campbell a lot, and I get the other Steve. Unfortunately, I'm the
Which one of you did I know first?
Oh, Potter. I don't know.
No.
I was a director before him, so I guess you knew me first.
I knew you first, yeah.
Yeah.
So he's the other.
Hi, everybody. This is Dan. I can't connect virtually because our internet is on the fritz, so I'm calling in.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, I figured whoever was taking notes would want to know that.
Thank you.
I greatly appreciate that. Are you the 816 number?
816738. Yeah, that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Can I say hi to Rebecca, who I love?
Hi, Carrie.
Okay, I'm muting again.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. I've got 10:01, so we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. We have quite a bit on the agenda. So Amigos had reached out and asked if we minded to allow them to address the membership at the beginning of the meeting because they have a meeting to get to right after this one. So I'd like to go ahead and see if we can get the minutes approved and then move Amigos up in the agenda and go over the service agreement renewal they've sent out, and also allow the membership to ask any questions they may have about the financials that went out in the meeting packet. So has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? I do have one correction I'll send to Rebecca right after this. But other than that, any other discussion or corrections for the two sets of minutes that went out April 8th and April 29th?
Move to accept the minutes with the suggested changes.
Thank you.
Michael Davis.
Thank you, Michael.
This is Jake from Web City. I'll second.
Thank you. Any other so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion about the minutes? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Are there any opposed? No? Okay, thanks so much. In the meeting packet, we did send out a quote from Amigos. Part of that quote was, I reached out to Amigos to ask them for we had an agreement with Amigos that was 3 years in length, and that has come, this will be the final year of that agreement. So we're looking at renewing that agreement for 1 year. The first part of the quote that went out was for the financial services that we already are in an agreement with Amigos to provide. And that's where if you'll look at that first page, the amount of that is going up from $12,000 per year to $15,000 per year. I'm going to go ahead and let Amigos give some background on the reasons behind the price increase. But I did also ask them to provide some pricing on some of the other services they offer, and that's also included in the meeting packet. I provided this information to the Personnel Committee. The idea was the Personnel Committee could use this information in deciding what they would recommend as far as future staffing options for Missouri Evergreen. So now that I've said that, I'd like to turn it over to Kristen or Tracy to go ahead and give more detail behind this quote and the pricing.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for moving us up to the agenda, making sure that we're able to talk to you here today. So yeah, as Shannon said, we did a quote for the financial services, which we have currently been doing for you guys, and added some other services that she requested. We did have a bit of a price increase, and that's kind of twofold. One of the main reasons is because you guys are so successful. You've been adding a lot of new members. And when we first started working with you, you had 44 libraries, and you've added 12 in the last few years, which is a little over a 25% increase in members. And since we have to do all the invoicing and billing for the members, that's just kind of more added work for us. So since our workload has increased a little bit, we had to up the price a bit. The other reason, as you'll notice towards the bottom, we did add some premium services that Shannon requested for us. And so those are such things as doing specialized financial reports on request for you, opening new bank accounts, managing special funds. I know you guys are planning on doing a new special projects fund starting in the new fiscal year. So that's kind of under the premium services, and then assisting you with your investment accounts as well. So that's kind of the main reasons for the increase. Anyone have any questions?
So again, we're currently paying $12,000, and this would increase to $15,000 per year. It's paid quarterly, and it does add some additional services to the financial services we had under agreement with Amigos. Does anyone have any questions or discussion about?
I mean, I get it, but it's a big percentage. If you go by the percentage, it's a pretty big percentage increase, obviously. But I mean, I think it'd be rationalized by the number of new members we've added, like they said. But I mean, typically if a bill go up that much, that's pretty substantial, I'd say.
Any other feedback concerning the financial services portion of the quote?
You know, what we could do, guys, moving forward after this year, like maybe we could work together to forecast the number of new members in a year, and that could help us not do a big price jump the next time we renewed, if you see what I'm saying.
Yeah, our goal is to add 5 members a year, though, so that's pretty stable. I know we haven't, I think when we moved from Mobius to Equinox, there was a lag there where I don't think we migrated 5 because we've had some delays. But normally, since we've been founded back in 2012 or whatever it was, I think they've been pretty standard on migrating 5 a year.
Okay, great. That's helpful. And as Kristen said, that managing special funds and adding like, oh, hey, I suddenly want to make a designated fund is for you all just a motion of the board. But for us all, it's quite a bit of maneuvering of funds and changing in the accounting system. I do have to say that Marchive invoicing was much more challenging than we anticipated. We're working to smooth that out, but it is and that's no doubt why y'all hired us, because that is one staff intensive project to take on. So Kristen's got it well in hand now, though.
I'm glad you mentioned that. We're going to talk more about that this meeting, Tracy, actually.
Yeah, some of those algorithms are interesting. I mean, I understand them from the membership viewpoint, but from the processing standpoint, wow.
Mm-hmm. So I think we invoice quarterly, and I think we'd like to do that annually or maybe biannually, at least cut down some of the work, even on, so I don't know. Any other discussion about financial services? If not, I would entertain a motion to renew our agreement with Amigos for financial services for 1 year at the new rate of $15,000 per year.
So moved. Sue Lightfoot.
Thank you, Sue.
Second, Kate.
Thank you, Kate. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Are there any opposed? No? Okay, thank you so much.
I have a question. This is not about this agreement specifically, but a question for Tracy about the agreement. So Tracy, I know, I feel like there was a discussion at one point about us talking about prorating people's fees and then billing everybody once a year moving forward or whatever. I guess we decided not to do that. I vaguely remember that conversation though. But hypothetically, if we were to somehow do that where everyone was getting billed once a year, but would that affect our rate at all, Tracy? Oh, it wouldn't. Okay. I was just
Sorry.
curious. That's okay. No, it's fine. I just didn't know.
So we do bill once a year for everything except Marchive, and then Marchive's billed quarterly. So for their membership, their Evergreen fee and their Syndetics fee is billed annually.
Oh, wait, I know. Okay. Well, I'm wrong, but I thought for some reason but each library individually was billed at different times throughout the year based on when they join. That's not true. They all get billed at the same time.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, correct.
I just knew when I got my bill. I didn't realize. I assumed everyone was different based on when they migrated in originally. Okay.
Yeah, we changed that, what, a year, 2 years ago?
Oh, so we had that discussion. When we did that discussion, we actually went ahead and did it then. Okay, I didn't remember that.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're good, Steve. We're good. That was
Well, it's not good. It didn't change our rate any, so it's not good. It's irrelevant to me one way or another, whether we do it once a year or throughout the year.
We made all the billing as of Missouri Evergreen's fiscal year. We got everybody to that portion.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
I knew we discussed it. I just didn't remember if we actually went ahead and did it because obviously I only know when I get my bill.
Yeah. So you've slept, and it's been fixed.
Excellent, excellent. Not that I cared one way or another anyway, unless it was going to help our Amigos bill.
Okay. Did anyone want to talk about the other services that are quoted here from Amigos? Did you have questions for Amigos about these services or the prices? As I said, I've turned this over just to the personnel committee at this point, but I did want to open the floor for any member that might have a question while we had Amigos with us. So we did do association management services. I don't know that would be something we'd look at, but certainly web services. They did do, they updated the quote from when I sent it out in the packet, and they've given a price for grant services as well. So
I will tell you, since that came out, the personnel committee has mostly been on vacation, so we have not met. I vaguely have looked at it, but the personnel committee has not taken that up at this point.
So I just wanted to know if anybody had any further discussion about this before we, as I said, while we have Amigos with us, if you have any questions, I'd like you. Okay. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and just look at the financials then for Missouri Evergreen while we still have Amigos with us on the meeting. And I'll let Sue Lightfoot and Kristen weigh in on this, on the financials, if anyone has any questions or if you have anything you want to highlight, Amigos.
I know I usually just hand this straight over to Kristen and to Keith because they're the one that has the knowledge with all the financial reports. And I do appreciate that that they were included in the packet for this month. Basically, moving forward, I think we're in good standing. Take it away, Kristen, Keith, it's your floor.
Yeah, there's not been a whole lot of activity this past month. We were, going to be doing a Marchive billing, and this will probably come up later, that the bills for the past 3 months were not high enough that we could actually bill it out. It just wouldn't have been hardly any money in the bills, so we're going to wait on that. Yeah, I think the only kind of main fee was the registered agent fee. So you guys started out with a new registered agent organization called InCorp, so there was a fee for that. So, and yeah, there was the monthly Marchive bill. So not a whole lot going on this past month.
Does anyone have any questions about the balance sheet or the budget versus actuals? No? Okay. Well, we'll move right along then. I'll go right into the executive committee reports. I think we mentioned this in the last meeting, but I wanted to mention it again. We are doing a live open demo Friday, July 23rd from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. This started out of the strategic planning committee when they sent out the survey to non-members and asked if what libraries might be interested in a demo. There was quite a bit of response from that. And so that's what started the idea of doing just an open demo that interested libraries could hop on and attend if they wanted to. I think that invite, I think Steve Campbell sent that out to the non-member libraries that responded to the survey so that they know it's an option for them. I've linked to the invite here from the meeting packet. If you want to send that out to a library you know that's interested, there's no registration. They don't need to let us know ahead of time. They can just jump on the Zoom meeting.
Hey, Shannon, between now and then, do you want me to send another reminder out to all the libraries and non-member libraries again?
That would be great.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah. So it's not formal and it doesn't require registration. Just any library that's interested is welcome to attend the demo that day. We had kind of batted around a Missouri Evergreen Users Conference. I was trying to think about how we could do that in a cost-effective way that would be really easy for Missouri Evergreen and would also, I know a lot of librarians have a lot of conferences and a lot of meetings to attend, so I didn't want it to be an extra thing that we had to set aside time on our calendars to do. I had an idea of maybe making it a pre-conference with the Missouri Library Association, so I reached out to Cindy Thompson, the current president of MLA, and floated the idea, and she invited me to attend a conference planning meeting, and the conference planners were really on board with that. I've asked for a cost. She said she thought it would cost around $200, so I put an estimated cost of about $500. So we wouldn't have to worry about a venue or really a program. We wouldn't have to put out a program. We wouldn't have to take registration. We wouldn't have to do, all of that would be absorbed by the MLA conference. We would just need to set an agenda for that users conference for that half day and hold it in one of the rooms of at the hotel that the conference was already being held at. So I think
Shannon, are we talking about this year?
Yeah, they said they would be interested in it this year.
So is that affected by, I mean, they changed the conference from 4 days down to 2 days.
Right.
So it's kind of squished.
Right. So I did put out this document in the meeting packet. Tentatively, it would be Tuesday, September 28th from 1 to 5, but that's really tentative. I would need to check with the conference planning committee to find out what the final days of the conference are. And I thought we could do it really easy, that maybe we'd let the committee chairs lead a training for about an hour. And then maybe we would do, we would show and share some of I know we've been sharing a lot of our marketing materials and our training materials through the listservs and on our website. I thought this would be a great way to share some stuff in person and maybe do some like poster session tables where, sit down and ask me about how to make a book carousel or ask me about how to customize your receipt templates or, those repeat questions that we get from a lot of libraries that I think you could sit down one-on-one and walk them through how to do some of the stuff that a lot of libraries still, I think, struggle with getting accomplished or setting aside the time to learn on their own to get done. And obviously, I'm bringing this to the membership for a vote. If you want to move forward with it, I'll be glad to put that in motion. And if you want to wait until table it until next year, I'm happy with that. I just wanted to bring the information forward for you to consider and to discuss and for us to decide as a membership what we think the best path forward would be.
And Shannon, this is Meredith. Just to add the information, we do have a Q&A session scheduled. That's only a 45-minute one during the conference as well for Evergreen, but nowhere near the depth that you're describing.
And your Q&A was for libraries that might be interested in joining, correct?
Also, in the past when we've had them as well, current participants show up as well too, and it's a nice way to put faces to names and make those connections in person as well.
Thank you. Okay. I was confused about that. I thought it was for libraries that might be interested. So, any discussion? Any questions? Is this something we want to? Can we just take a quick show of hands? Those that want to consider it and talk more about it. Do we want to wait?
I like the thought of it a lot. I think it's a good place to start.
Is there anyone opposed and want to not move forward?
I'm not opposed, but oops. I'm not opposed, but I don't know if I'm not, because of what Kate said about them compressing the conference and stuff this year. I don't know. I mean, I'll of course I'll be supportive, and me and my staff will help however we can if we decide to go ahead and do it, which it sounds like we will. I'm not sure this is the best year to do it for the first time, but I could be totally wrong. I'm wrong all the time about stuff.
I kind of feel like the same thing though. September is right around the corner, and so many other things I know I've got on my plate between now and November that this would be one more thing to have to get ready for.
No, and that's good feedback. And I know we do, Missouri Evergreen's done a lot this year, and there's been a lot of members that have put in a lot of hours. So I'm not trying to.
Yeah, you especially. I mean, of all people, talk about the pot calling the kettle black. You've put in so much time as chair. I don't know. I don't think that's going to change, though. I think we're all going to have stuff to do all the time. Like what Diane's saying, I think is just going to always be the case. There's always something. I didn't really mean for that reason. I mean, this is pretty reasonable amount of time before the conference to start talking about doing something. I don't think it's too late for that. My whole thing is I don't know. I'm really not involved with the conference because I'm not on the board anymore, the Missouri MLA board. But I don't know. I feel like potentially you could have a down turnout could be down. Plus they're compressing the schedule. I don't know. I don't know. I would hate to do it and then it be very unsuccessful. And we have nothing to compare it to. This because it happened to be a weird year, and then next year go, I don't know, we should do this again because it was such a bomb last year. But it's not really comparing apples to apples because I think this is still kind of a weird year. I don't know. I could go either way, I guess.
I agree with, and I think one of the reasons I'll add to that, Steve. I think one of the reasons MLA is so excited about us doing it this year is because they are concerned about a lower turnout. And so they see this as an extra draw for more people. We won't charge an extra registration as Missouri Evergreen, but they think more people might, since they'll get to come to the pre-conference plus MLA, they may make it more attractive for them to register and go. So
I also wonder whether, I mean, the purpose is to, I guess it's not just directors. I was going to say, is it better maybe to do it before an MPLD, but maybe not, because you're having people like catalogers and CERC people going to MLA who don't go to that. I guess that's true. Yeah.
I kind of see this as a precursor to what, I hope that someday we can do, which is an, actual Missouri Evergreen conference every year. I feel like we need to, our goal, I think, is to have one of those, and this would kind of be a feeler for that kind of thing.
I'm just afraid it would be a bad feeler because it could be, I mean, because of the nature of the conference here, it could be a bust, and then we're going to be, I mean, we could just take that into consideration, but I don't know if it's going to tell us a lot based on.
Yeah, for $200, I mean, I know that's not an insignificant amount of money, but
well, that's true. It's not costing money.
It kind of is.
It gives the way to get our feet wet.
I was just going to give perspective. The actual conference dates are compressed to just Wednesday, September 29th and Thursday, September 30th is the entirety of the conference.
So this is the day before the conference.
Yeah. Right. So I think this would be the pre-conference day before, but I do need to confirm that with the conference planning committee and Cindy. I have not done that yet.
It's the pre-conference afternoon.
Okay.
So
are they having any pre-conferences?
Right. That was my question. Are they having a pre-conference?
We have not heard that part yet, but they were hoping to aim for at least one other one. So your attendees could travel in the morning. Missouri Evergreen, great way to launch your experience, and then Wednesday, Thursday, get MLA content. Right. I mean, they've got a robust plate of ideas, and we're seeing our first state conference that we're helping with in person is in Oklahoma this year, and it's at the end of July. Their numbers are already over 300 in registration. So we're seeing some other states having success with going back to in person. And
is that above normal though? Is like 300? I don't know what that would mean though. Like, what does that mean?
No, 300? That is not above normal yet for them.
Oh, okay.
But it is more optimistic than they had thought it would be.
Krista says there's a genealogy pre-conference that she knows of beforehand.
Well, the thing is, I mean, I know that there'll be a lot of people wanting to go to MLA. My biggest concern is I don't know, like, without talking, and I don't know if they're on the call. No, they wouldn't be on the call. Like, I worry about, like, if a library, like, say, Margaret has been very cautious about COVID says Daniel Boone employees can't go. Well, that is going to hurt the conference. If some of the larger libraries say that as an edict to their employees, that's going to substantially hurt turnout. I think we're going to have a lot of people there still. I just don't think we're going to have as many. I think we could possibly not have as many as a normal year. Like I said, I don't know. I mean, we could go ahead. We can do it. I don't know why I'm doing all the talking here, but I mean, I just have concerns about it. This not being the best year to do it. Okay, I'll stop now. Fine.
As a first year trying it, I think if you have a little less attendance, that's kind of good as a soft launch, so that you have some experience behind you when it is a huge dual conference.
And we only care how many Missouri Evergreen libraries come. I don't care if Daniel Boone comes or not.
No, but that was just an example. What I'm saying is, though, I mean, you're right. I guess I don't know if this attendance, if any of the smaller medium libraries that Evergreen members will say that kind of thing. So.
Well, Shannon, this is Terry. I'm going to make a motion that you proceed forward.
Okay, thank you, Terry. Do we have a second on that motion?
Just Colleen, and I'll second it.
Okay, thank you, Colleen. So we have a motion and a second. I think Robert's rules says I have to ask for discussion before I take a vote. So any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. I will get with Cindy and the MLA Conference Planning Committee and get it all set up, and I'll be sending lots of info back to the membership on what the final dates and times are and all the specifics that I get from MLA once I have it.
And Shannon, this is Meredith again. If this changes the perspective on what we should do at the breakout session, we're not married to what we said. We just basically said an Evergreen presentation and a Q&A. So if there's something content-wise that makes more sense to adjust that for follow-up to this, we can be in touch and adjust.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll just let you know as soon as I do what it looks like. So how do we have any feedback on the kind of the idea I had in place about what it would, the content we would present or what it would entail? Does anyone, and we don't have to do that during this meeting, maybe.
Yeah, I think we need to work on that, and agreed. We shouldn't do it today, but, and I hate to think of another subcommittee to do this or whatever, but you know.
Yeah, maybe.
I think that there was a good point about this being maybe a smaller, I think we could really, you know, try some stuff.
Okay. I will reach out to committee chairs to get started as far as content, but I don't want the membership to think you don't have feedback or input into this. I will be reaching out for information and sharing information as we move forward.
Shannon, this is Rachel Grimm. One thing that you might want to think about adding is maybe one of the libraries that has recently migrated to share their experiences, because sometimes, you know, we're all starshines and unicorns, but sometimes it's a little, you know, sometimes it's a little bit different. And so that might be a realistic, hey, you know, this is what I experienced. And
like a new members roundtable or something.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
And I was just about to say, you know, I encourage anybody to throw us ideas, even if you're not involved in any committees or anything like that. Please do.
Yes. Yes, that's a good point.
This is for current Evergreen users, right?
Yes, that's the intent. Okay. Well, moving right along then. I'll need to bring up my, what in the world? There it is. Okay. New members. I just wanted to remind everyone, James Memorial Library should be going live July 9th. Their migration team is Scenic, and kudos to Scenic for all their hard work. I know Diane has taken over the barcoding project and labeled all the units and put out beautiful instructions, and thank you so much for doing that, Diane. Popper Bluff did not do as nearly as good of a job, so I was glad to meet Diane in Perryville and just turn it all over to her, and she took it all on and made it perfect. Thank you. Henry County Library live August 19th. Their ME migration team is Trails Regional Library. Cedar County Library, I know it will be probably the end of October, the 1st of November, but we don't have their date yet. They have sent their grant into the Missouri State Library, and I'm waiting to hear back on that. Rolla Public Library has also submitted their grant. We're waiting to hear from them. They have to go live before September 30th because they're hosted with TLC, and that's the date that their contract is up. Equinox has told me that they're holding their spot and they'll make sure that they're live on Missouri Evergreen before that time.
Shannon, I'm sorry, I apologize. I was just off the call for a second. Did you say anything about Reynolds County yet?
Reynolds County? I'm just about to.
Oh, you haven't got to that yet? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, sorry.
No. So I just heard back from Reynolds County yesterday. Their board did vote on Monday to join Missouri Evergreen contingent upon them receiving their library automation grant. So they, I've shared our Missouri Evergreen grant kit with Reynolds County, which is just basically the grant applications and interim reports that Colleen has done previously for our Missouri Evergreen grant. We've shared that with them so that they can, we told them copy and paste whatever you like into your own grant application. Reynolds County isn't automated, so they will have a little bit more steps to join Missouri Evergreen. But I do think Pat Rainwater told me that she reached out to Debbie Musselman at the state library, and Debbie Musselman said that they were trying to turn those grants around in a matter of weeks. Hey, Debbie's there.
Yeah, and yes, we are.
Right. So, and I guess what I'm saying to that is that Pat Rainwater doesn't want to sign an MOU with Missouri Evergreen until she's sure she gets the grant. That's what her board has asked her to do. So they're kind of tentative new Missouri Evergreen members until they get their word back and the board will sign the paperwork for them. I just got an update from Equinox on the reporter and the
Shannon, I'm sorry. So sorry to interrupt. This is about migrations and stuff. I feel this is my last, meeting as chair of the cataloging committee. So I feel like I'm going to say it and what are you going to do? Fire me? But I understand that, we're trying to get these migrations in, we're cramming all these migrations in before the fiscal year. This is very hard on us trying to fulfill the policy and us trying to, look at these libraries catalogs. It's really important to all of us that the cataloging committee has time to do this. And I'm glad that we were able to squish some in, before this fiscal year, but dang, we are, it's rough trying to get all this in and really do our due diligence as the cataloging committee to get these catalogs assessed. So, I don't know, there's nothing that really can be done, but, I just hope that we can keep that in mind in the future and really try to, I know we try to schedule them, in a timely manner or whatever, but, now we have 6 libraries that we, or whatever, that we're having to do this in the next literally 3 months or so, if so, I just wanted to get that out there, have it said that, but we're happy to be doing it, and we're, but our goal is that we're trying to help the consortium as a whole in doing this. I feel like it's a really important thing that we're doing, and having a substantial amount of time to do it is important.
I think part of the problem, well, I know the cataloging committee hates me because I've been the one pushing for the 5, keep on migrating people in as quickly as possible. My opinion is if we're going to keep growing, we need to keep growing for this to continue with momentum. So we need to keep bringing in as many people each year as we can. I think the problem what the cataloging committee is experiencing now is due to the fact that kind of our hopper for new libraries coming in kind of were empty. And so we've gotten a few, James and Rolla and those, but it was kind of more last minute stuff. So they didn't get, like in the past, if you recall, when we migrated new libraries, and sometimes they would commit to us a year or more before the actual migration was happening, because we had so many libraries lined up wanting to come in. And I think for whatever reason, I think part of it was the move from Mobius to Equinox kind of slowed things down recruitment wise for us. But I'm hoping to get back into the situation where libraries are committing way in advance versus, at the last minute.
Yeah,
so
and
I think that'll help.
Me being on the onboarding committee as well, I know that, ideally we're supposed to have, a good 6 months for all this to happen. And we're certainly not getting that, and I am glad that we were able to fill our spots, but it's rough right now.
I know like libraries, like I talked to Mary Beth Revels at St. Joe, and their contracts, they thought their contract was up in a year and they were going to come to the demo on the 23rd, which I think they still are. And she says, oh, well, I looked at our contract and actually it's not up for like 2 years. And I go, you know what? It's still not, if you make a decision 2 years beforehand, it's actually better for us because you can get, I don't think they're going to be a huge problem in terms of their collection, but if you get committed 2 years in advance, it really helps us out in advance. So I don't know if she's going to commit or not, but I encourage her to continue on with the process and do so now. So I think if we could get my library scheduled for 2023 or whenever, when these different ILS contracts are coming up, it's going to help the cataloging committee have time to do their job more.
I also will add, I know it's a lot on the Missouri Evergreen migration teams as well. I know that it's a lot of work. That's one of the reasons we put together the personnel committee, is to look at what we need to do in order to, we're only getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's going to be, more work to manage the group, or to continue to grow or expand or enhance, Missouri Evergreen. So hopefully, I will say that we had a meeting with the Missouri State Library, and they're on board with us using some of the special grant funds to hire a cataloger for 1 year, that we hope, I think Colleen is going to include that in the next grant we're writing. I know that's a grant and that's only 1 year, but maybe it will give us some relief or help us set up some systems or some processes that we can carry forward after that, that would help with some of the work that's on the cataloging committee's plate. And also the personnel.
Can't wait.
The personnel committee is looking at, do we need to keep a part-time cataloger all the time? Who do we need as a staff person? What can we afford? What are our priorities? And so we do know that there's a lot of work falling to the committees and to the membership, and we're trying to address it. I'm sorry.
I would like to encourage that anybody who talks to anyone who's even thinking about joining Evergreen, that you start stressing now that you need to be weeding and inventorying. I heard recently of a library that thinks they have a third less than what's loaded actually sitting on their shelves. And maybe even half their collection that's loaded is not really in their library because they did not inventory ahead of time. So I think that's something it's a long time consuming process. So if they're even thinking about making a switch, they need to start the day they're thinking about it, prepping their collection.
We are trying, Terry, on this part of the onboarding group, we're trying to put together a packet we would give a new library that's coming on board with things they might consider. Inventory and weeding is in that, as well as things like, do you want to do some database cleanup with patrons, or, do you want to do some database cleanup with fees and fines? Also, Equinox, is part of their migration phone calls. They go, when they're data mapping and they're asking those types of questions, they're really encouraging the library to kind of bring the database in as lean and as clean as they can. So I know we are working toward that. I know it's not perfect and there's room to grow, but we are trying to address it. There's something in the chat. I don't have a chat window up. Is there more discussion on this before we move on to the update on the reporter dashboard?
Basically, Elena in the chat said she's been weeding like crazy, patrons and materials, and doing all that to make sure they don't run into that issue. And Carrie says, yeah, just wait until Equinox shreds your database and it takes you 2 years to fix it.
I just would like to profess my love for Carrie Klein. I'm going to explain why I mean that. So we all love Carrie Klein, no surprise, but I would say, I talk to a lot of libraries around the state because I've been trying to recruit for Evergreen for several years. And, Carrie had a really horrible experience with her migration. We all know about that. She let us know for a long time. And she could have easily, through word of mouth, undermined other libraries join the consortium. But to her credit, this is why we love her, she did not. I mean, she definitely told them her honest, what really happened to them, but she was still encouraging them to join, even despite all the problems she was having. And I've heard multiple libraries in the Southwest, Southwest tell me that. So I would just like to continue to tell everyone how wonderful Carrie is, because she could have easily submarined us or torpedoed us. I mean, with recruiting anybody in that entire area of the state she talks to, but she did not do that. And I just want to say I appreciate it immensely, because
You're welcome. We still love the resource sharing. I mean, it's awesome. And our circulation's gone way up, like to above 2019 figures.
Great.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm always telling people is that, yeah, you may have some hiccups. You may have, well, in your case, big hiccups. but
vomiting.
But what happens on the end result is amazing.
Yeah, it is.
So I always want all these small libraries to think, oh, no, we can't do it. We can't, you can, and it's great.
Hopefully Carrie has a short memory and forgets about all the horrible hiccups she had early on and just focuses on the positive things.
Positive things. Yes.
Well, I'm really elderly, so that's going to be in my favor.
Like women in childbirth, where you forget about it and then you have another one.
I'd rather not sell Missouri Evergreen as childbirth, but yes, well, that would probably not be a good selling point, but.
That's funny.
Any more feedback on migrating libraries?
Thanks for listening, everybody.
You're welcome. I did hear back from Equinox on the reporter dashboard project. I hope from our previous meeting, it was 2 projects. Each project was $50,000 each. They were asking for Evergreen Consortium to commit to a level of funding. Missouri Evergreen voted to commit $10,000, and I did send that letter of intent into Equinox. They have one other library that's committed $20,000, or one other consortium, I should say, that's committed $20,000. So right now they're sitting at a $30,000 development commitment or fund commitment. So that's still shy of even being able to complete one of the projects, and of course, really shy of completing both. They said they're going to continue to talk to consortium and try to get the funding committed, but that's the last I know is they've had 30,000 committed from 2 different consortiums.
Shannon, do we know why places like Georgia Pines are not interested in this? Or do we need to call them and find out? Because I'm just baffled by why they would not want this.
I would have to, I don't know why. Steve, you sent me an email and asked if I could.
Yeah, I know you didn't have time to get back to me on that. Diane and I might call a couple of these consortium, and I'm just dying to know why they are not interested in, because they funded other things. They funded the app when it was originally created with the big expense, we just modified it, but I mean, they did the actual creation, Georgia Pines and a lot of these other consortium. And a lot of them have, based on our survey we did of the consortium or consortia around the country, not all of them, but a good number of them have software development funds already existing.
Right.
Which just makes me baffled as to why they would just not want to do it unless they plan on doing it some other way. But I think, if you don't mind, I think Diane and I will reach out to a couple of them and find out what the reason they are not wanting to fund this is.
Oh, of course I don't mind. That would be wonderful.
I wonder if some of them could have some funding concerns based on post-COVID changes in budget structures for their member libraries.
Yeah, true.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or maybe they're just saying, hey, we funded all the other projects, it's somebody else's turn.
Mm-hmm.
All those things could be true, but we don't know.
Steve's gonna
so I
find
think
out
we need to try to find out.
Okay. And I'm of the mind that we're not going to increase our funding level until we get some more answers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I agree with that. I think we've.
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
So I just wanted everyone to know where the latest that I'd heard from Equinox as far as where we were. The next thing is Marchive billing. We bill that out quarterly. I'm not sure where the I don't know the history behind how we bill Marchive and why and when. I do know that we're trying to, I think, just share the cost of that, the actual bill. So we're just waiting for the bills to come in and then divvying it up and then asking Amigos to send the bill out. And I guess the reason I'm bringing this forward is quarterly seems like a lot of work, in my opinion. I'm wondering if we should bill it semi-annually or annually. Even we have enough cash flow that we could pay the bill up front and then bill annually after, in arrears for the bill. How does
I would
everybody feel
prefer
about
to have an annual bill, so unless
too.
somebody doesn't want that, I will move for that to be switched to annual, unless somebody has some reason why we need to stay.
I'll second that. This is Steve. I'll second Terry's motion.
Okay. Any other discussion on that?
I will say this. I think the reason why it was quarterly was this is a Mobius formula that originated this, and I think they needed that turnaround of their funds a little bit more frequent than what we are in the position now where we can change that. The
Okay.
other consideration might have been for the smaller libraries, maybe for their budget concerns, things like that.
Yeah.
But I'm so over it. I'm just going to speak frankly. I'm so over it. Let's do annually and be done with it because it's really not that much of an expense even for the small.
Well, now maybe I'm changing my mind now that you said that. I know you're going to a bigger library with a bigger budget, but I'm always worried about the smallest libraries. So does any of the libraries who are on the call who are small think that moving from quarterly to annual, if it's before you collect all your revenue for the year, is that going to be a budgetary problem for anybody?
I'm a
I mean,
small library.
It's not for us, but I'm just worried about, for other of the small libraries.
I'm a small library and the amount does not affect me one way or the other. Actually, I would want annually.
Anybody else here who's from a small library who can support that? Because I just want to make sure before I'm in favor of doing it, but I don't want it to hurt anyone.
We're fairly small, but I would support annual billing.
Okie dokie.
While we're discussing this, why can't we have Marchive's formula and Syndetics formula be the same?
Agreed.
I think that would help Equinox figure it. I mean, Amigos figure all that out because we had a problem last year and with that. I don't quite understand why it was a different formula, I guess is what I'm.
So the Marchive formula adds an extra $50 to each bill. Is that correct?
Yeah, but it takes that $50 and then minus that off the regular bill, then adds the circulation on top of that. When Syndetics is just straight circulation.
Mm-hmm.
And you
I don't know if
have
anyone
that.
else is watching Tracy's face while we're talking about this, but she's very excited about the prospect of having the same formula.
Well,
I never understood why it was two separate formulas.
Is it established by the companies though? Was that created by us or by them?
It was established by Mobius.
Okay.
Okay, well, this is Carrie, and I made the motion, so I will modify my motion to say billing annually and to match Syndetics.
Does that dramatically change anyone's individual libraries' fees?
Actually, it will help your small library, Steve, because it will drop their bill at least $50.
Okay, so it won't substantially change ours, though. It doesn't sound like it's going to change ours dramatically.
No, everybody was having a $50 buy-in, and then it was by circulation.
Oh, I see.
Never made sense to me.
Yeah, okay, well, then I'll continue in second Terry's new motion, I suppose, then, yeah.
Kristen, did you do the $50 every bill or once a year, may I ask?
It was every bill.
So every library will save $200 a year since we're billing quarterly.
Oh, even better. Wow. Okay, I doubly second that motion then.
Okay.
Okay, but Kristen, let's just put it, if you can do some quick math for us. I have no calculations or no method to do calculations. How is that going to affect our overall budget if we take $200?
It'll be we'll lose about $11,000 in revenue.
Can we handle that?
Oh.
Yeah, the only thing that I can say is that when we build out the Marchive and we did the $50 and then divided it by the number of libraries times the $50 and subtracted that amount, the goal was to bill out the same amount that we pay, that Evergreen pays the Marchive. So if you take out the $50, you might be billing the libraries less than what Evergreen has to pay.
Yeah. Can we be, I'd love to vote on this today, but is there a way, I hate to stall things, but is there a way we can see on a spreadsheet or something showing us what the before and after would be in terms of each library's costs? Boy, if Dan Brower was still here, he hadn't left, he could do some magical spreadsheet work for us, but on the fly right here while we're sitting here, but he's not here now. He left the meeting early.
Let me follow up with that then, Kristen. I thought $50 was added to it. You're saying that at the end, it still matches whatever we're billed? So we never collect more than what the archive bill is. So it's not
correct.
revenue.
It might be off by, like maybe up to 5 cents just because of, rounding, but yeah, it's we take out the $50 first and then add it back in. The formula you guys gave us to use. So we just
nightmare
put in the numbers.
It's a nightmare.
I think we can. I think we're all in favor of fixing it. I just want to make sure that in terms of the budget implications, it doesn't short us money.
Right.
Could we vote on this by email before the next meeting if we see the spreadsheet first and it looks okay?
Yeah, we could do that. So you want to table it?
Well, can we just vote that it's actually the actual archive cost is actually split out using the Syndetics formula and just bill it out and split it out like it should be? I don't think there should be any $50 add-on. If we're wanting to add on a charge somewhere, it shouldn't be added on to that.
I agree. The original intent was never to charge more than what archive billed. So, but the formula kind of was weird. So it should be revenue neutral.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think I was confused.
So I would like to just say with my motion is that it's the actual cost of archive is split out using the Syndetics formula that we already have in place to all libraries, however it's been being done.
So
that it is revenue neutral.
If it's revenue neutral, then we're not actually losing 11,000 a year.
No.
Correct.
We were bringing in 11,000 more than we needed a year through archive billing. Is
No.
that? Oh, Tracy's saying no.
No. You were trying to level the playing field, which really didn't level the playing field, frankly, with this weird, we'll give you a $50 credit and then we'll put it back in. But we don't generally advocate invoicing out more than you're gonna pay a vendor. We like to keep those equal. That's our advice usually. But it was just this weird, I think it was a legacy formula that was, created with very goodwill, but without an understanding of the implications of it. And if you use circulation, that's proportional. I
think we're just confused by the words extra $50, but that was, if it was actually extra, it was credited back to the library.
But this was disproportionately fun. This was placing disproportionate burden on the smaller libraries, you're saying? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Because I'm saying we don't bill exactly with the Evergreen fees to Equinox either. I mean, if we did that, the larger libraries would be paying much less than they're paying now. But I'd rather not the burden be on the smallest libraries.
Yeah, I mean, basically you were adding $50 to the small libraries.
Yeah, it doesn't sound
good. And then
good.
based it on circulation. And so it is actually disproportionately hurting the smaller libraries.
Oh, that's not good.
And I think the history part of this is because, at one point in time, we were a consortium membership of 10, then we grew up to 20. Now we're up to 50. So I think it's time for a change in some of these billing formulas. Yeah.
Well, we changed the overall fee structure, so this wouldn't be unprecedented by any means.
Yeah.
So Tracy, is my motion fine as is? And do we need to address in my motion anything about a partial billing to get us on an annual cycle?
We start September 1 with the new fiscal year.
Yeah, I wouldn't make a change right now, but make it active your fiscal year. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
If we're going to have a motion on this, can I have somebody state, please?
All right, this is Terry York again. That we bill for archive annually based on the formula used for Syndetics to fully recover the cost to archive, making it revenue cost neutral, and that we begin with our next fiscal year.
Yes, I guess I'm seconding that motion now. The third motion I've seconded, I think.
Third time's a charm?
Hopefully.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I think.
We
Any
just want
opposed?
to make Tracy happy. That's what this is all about.
Any opposed? Okay, my last thing for this morning. Amigos previously offered as part of their financial services package to be listed as the registered agent when a agency registers with the state of Missouri. They no longer offer that service. They recommended a company called Incorp. And so I did file paperwork this year with Incorp to be listed as our registered agent for Missouri Evergreen. I think that was around $100 for the year. I have noticed some organizations that have an attorney of record and then they use their attorney as a registered agent. I don't think Missouri Evergreen has an official attorney of record yet. So I
Yeah,
want
we do. We signed an agreement with my library's attorney, Dave Polite, but I don't know if he does that or not. I'd have to look, but $100 seems very reasonable. I mean,
yeah, it's true. I just thought if then Missouri Evergreen wouldn't have to do it, an attorney would handle it. I don't know if that was my idea. But
wait, isn't Incorp handling it? I'm confused now, but I thought you're having Incorp handle it. No?
Incorp handles.
well, you still have to fill out the paperwork and pay the bill and
Oh, I see.
you know what I'm
I
saying?
can ask our attorney what they would charge to be a registered agent for Evergreen.
I don't think that's the most pressing thing. I'd rather you
Okay.
ask other consortium how they handle the dashboard or why they won't fund the dashboard.
Okay. I could do both, I don't have to just do one of those things. I'm good for more than one phone call. I mean, I can do two things. I mean,
Okay.
it's fine. I won't ask him.
Okay. Any questions on the executive committee report? No? Okay. Well, we've already covered financial reports, so I will turn it over to Kate Coleman with the cataloging committee.
Good morning, everyone. So since we last spoke at a membership meeting, we have upgraded to Evergreen 3.6.3. We have had lots of listserv discussion about things that we like and we dislike. I did want to bring up a few specific bugs that I have given to Rebecca to put the link in the minutes. So, and if you need links or anything to these, please let me know. Anyway, the first one that none of us like is that search results screen no longer includes the call number. This is a big, hiccup for both catalogers and CERC people. So we're hoping that they fix that relatively quickly. The second one that I wanted everyone to be sure they knew about was the exclude electronic resources checkbox. It's not what they call sticky. So when you're going to catalog preferences, you have to check the exclude electronic resources checkbox at every search. Also, that box disappears when you're doing your search, but the search does run with the electronic resources excluded. So that's confusing and it stinks. And there's a bug that if you are so inclined, you can go put heat on it. And then the last one that we have an ongoing issue here with at Missouri Evergreen is the searching on the staff side returns a ton of empty bibs. We all know about this. It's not new to this upgrade. This has prompted the running of a report on empty bibs in Missouri Evergreen. Thank you, Colleen. That those will be deleted, but that is actually a small percentage of it because there are also a large number of electronic resource bibs that come up. We will be exploring how to pinpoint those items and delete them from the catalog. If you all have been here a long time, you know that we have done a project like this before, but we were very conservative apparently in what we deleted and found. So we need to be more broad and get those electronic resources out of there. Because we all have decided that our patrons go to those third-party websites anyway to discover their ebooks and audios and that kind of thing. We do not want them in our catalog, and libraries coming in will no longer be able to bring their e-resources into our catalog. Anybody have any questions about any of those bugs or problems with the upgrade? Okay, as I spoke about a little earlier, the cataloging committee has completed assessing the catalogs of 2 of the libraries that are migrating into Missouri Evergreen this summer. So we've done James and Henry. We are now in talks with Equinox to figure out the best way to use our information for a more smooth migration of those bib records. Nate, who is our new incoming chair, he made a rubric for us all to follow. And I think we have really done due diligence to these catalogs, and we have found and pinpointed some real issues that we can hopefully work on before we migrate these bibs into our catalog so that they match and merge in better than what we've had in the past. That is our goal, at least.
Hey, can I
Yes.
right there? Do you think now that you have the rubric and you've done it a couple of times that it will be easier moving forward? I don't want to say easy, but I know sometimes setting up and getting started is the hardest part.
And I feel like we're still in that scenario right now, because we have not hashed out exactly with Equinox how our information that we feel is going to, you know, hinder a good migration is going to help them. So we're hashing out how, you know, batch processing on their end, even projects with the migrating libraries themselves before, you know, in their current ILS, what they can do to fix their bibs before we bring them in. So that's kind of still why I still feel like we're really in the beginning stages of this, because we don't have that necessarily figured out with Equinox yet. Having said that, as far as the rubrics in order, our part of it, assessing the catalog itself, I do feel like we've got a decent handle on that. We know what we're looking for. We know, you know, if things are missing, that kind of thing. I feel like the committee, we have a good handle on that. I'm not saying it's not time consuming, you know, but I feel like we're doing a good job on that. And I mean, we're talking relatively small libraries right now, you know, so when we get a decent sized one with a bigger collection, you know, of course it's going to be more time, because the way we're doing it is we're looking at a percentage of print materials, AV materials, and within those categories, we're looking at subsets of those categories as well. So we're touching every part of their you know, catalog as far as how they have cataloged their items. So that was probably more information than you needed, but yes, I feel like on our end, we're getting a good handle on it, but we're still sussing out how we can make it, you know, how we can make it do what we want it to do, essentially. Okay, so I have fielded a lot of questions from both directors and catalogers and everything about Missouri Evergreen certified cataloging training. That is a new policy that we adopted last December. Hopefully, Shannon just mentioned it, and I'm wondering if maybe the personnel committee is going to talk about it a little later, but we are going to have a cataloger at least for the next year after they're hired. So that is going to hopefully be that person's first project. They will be spearheading that project. So it's dependent on when that person is hired. But we are still hoping for the fall. I don't know when that grant is going to be written, accepted, and, you know, feelers are going to go out to actually hire or anything like that. But I know that this certification is on a lot of people's minds. And that is something that we are happy that we are going to be able to give to this person that we're going to hire. We're hoping that this person will, kind of like Shannon said earlier, we want their full-time year that they're going to be here to really set us up for the future to be able to do things even easier. Couple quick notes, several tutorial videos have been added to the Missouri Evergreen YouTube channel for cataloging stuff. More are planned for the future. Our next meeting is this coming Monday at 11. And thank you for letting me be the chairperson of the Missouri Evergreen Cataloging Committee for the last 2 years. I feel like I've been able to accomplish a lot with the wonderful help of the committee and the cataloging members of the consortium. But I'm looking forward to handing it over to Nate.
Any questions for Kate or the cataloging committee? Is Nate on the call? Yes.
Yes, I'm here.
Welcome. Welcome. I know you've been a part of us for a part of Missouri Evergreen for a long time, but welcome as committee chair.
Thank you. I definitely have some big shoes to fill.
I am not worried at all. I am relieved to be handing it over to someone so competent.
Okay, so if there's no more feedback for Kate, we'll turn it over to Diane as chair of the circulation committee.
Things have been pretty quiet on the circulation front the past couple months. I do want to give a shout out to Denise at Scenic and Evan at Poplar Bluff for being such good resources and getting the rebar coating equipment all together and working when we were down at in St. James for the first session of their rebar coating their collection. I was on the phone with both of them a few times to get things sorted out, and they were just real champions hanging in with me and getting things working for our new friends at James Memorial. And I want to thank Ron Eifert for putting things up on the Missouri Evergreen website and on the YouTube channel. I know I have sent him a lot of information over the last year, and he's been so cheerful and cooperative and helpful getting things on. He's been a real treat to work with.
I second that. Thank you, Ron.
Since I don't have much to report from the circulation committee, I'm going to tell you the wonderful news that we're getting the proximity settings task force back up and running again. We were just starting with Equinox to get some results on the adjustments we had made to the system way it chooses which item will fill a hold. We were just starting to see that items were actually being pulled first from the libraries that shared a courier hub, so that something that's going to Albany was not coming from Sykeston. We were just starting to see some good results from that when COVID hit and everybody shut down. I asked at the Evergreen conference, it was a couple weeks ago, I asked in one of the sessions how long the average transit time is in their consortium. And most of them said the average time is a week. It takes a week for something to get from one library to another to fill a hold. They said the outside amount of time it's been taking is 2 weeks. So we have transit times all over the map, all over the map. Equinox sends a report out every month about what the average times are. The longest, the report includes the longest, the shortest, and an average. And we have numbers all over the map. So we're going to be working on getting those whittled down so that we can also say things get to the borrowing library in a week usually, and 2 weeks is the outlier.
Can I interject something here regarding this?
Of course.
Of course. I just wanted to throw out there that the Strategic Planning Committee, I know I'm going to report on that here briefly in a minute, but they actually, one of the recommendations we have is to set up a committee to study what the reasons for that delay is. I agree. When we surveyed the other consortia, they all had transit times that were half what ours were. All of them had transit times which were half of ours. And I don't know if it's due to the courier, it's due to member libraries not having enough courier days, the courier itself, I mean the actual company, or if it's due to member libraries not pulling their books fast enough on hold. So I think we just need to be looked into more closely than the Strategic Planning Committee can. And one of our recommendations is for the chair in the coming year to appoint a committee to actually explore that and determine why, unlike every other consortium in the country, we're taking twice as long as more to be able to transfer items between our libraries. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Well, I think that would go along with the proximity settings. I think that the committee is already here to try to solve that kind of thing. I've been looking at the latest report from Equinox, and I can already see where some of the issues are. I haven't even gotten through all the libraries yet, but I can see that there is perhaps a problem. Well, we know that there's a problem if a library only has 2 days of delivery during the week, then that's going to slow the stuff down. And if they only do internal transiting once a week. You know, their internal courier only picks up things from their outlying branches once a week. That's going to slow things down. And you know what it all comes back to? We all know what it comes back to is money. It all comes back to money. So we're going to be meeting with Galen Charlton from Equinox next week. The committee, we're going to be meeting with him. He's put together some of the newest numbers. And there's only so much that can be done with changing the proximity settings. It's all these other random.
Yeah, I think that's just one part of the equation. I don't think it's any one thing, but I will say that I know that the state library and other and member libraries have said that, oh, well, we don't need to increase our courier days because we only send out 50 items a day, let's say hypothetically. So why do we need to? It's not about they're basing it strictly on volume, which I totally get, and that's a money issue. I get that, but it's not just about volume as to the number of days you have. It's about the speed you're getting items around to your patrons. So I think
I can't agree with that more. I think a lot of it has to do with how many.
So if a little tiny library only has courier 2 days a week, that might sound great because it's only sending 20 items out. But if it results in it taking 3 weeks for a patron to get an item from that library, that's a problem for the rest of us, you know?
Yes, and one consortium told me that they reward people for fast transits. They will. It's not monetary, and they don't send donuts and coffee, but they publish the name of the library that's getting the things out fastest. It's a huge, many-pieced pie that we have to sort out.
I mean, one of these consortium, I think it was Boston Noble in Boston, they have like 100 and something libraries, and they're spread all over the Boston and Massachusetts area outside. And they said their average transit time is a day or two, which we can't even get those. We can barely get items between our own branches in a day or two. So I was just astounded.
So we're back at it. I was filling in for Shannon's uncompleted term as chair of the circulation committee. This is my second round as a circulation committee chair, and I'm finishing out somebody else's term, and now Meredith McCarthy from Jefferson County is going to take over as chair of this committee. She's been active in the committee for a long time, and she's quite capable. Just because I'm not going to be chair of that committee doesn't mean I'm going to be quiet or be disappearing.
Well, thank you to Diane and to Kate. They have both done an amazing job in you've set a standard now, so everybody's going to have to follow how you've both done.
Well, thank you. It's fun. I love puzzles, so
welcome, Meredith.
Welcome, Meredith. Yes.
Thank you. And Diane, there's nowhere you can go that you can hide that I will not find you for all my questions.
So any questions for Diane on what she's reported this morning, or any more feedback on circulation related issues for Missouri Evergreen?
In the chat, Ron says he'd be interested in seeing how an additional hub would affect transit times. Of course, that's also a money issue, just like everything else.
Well, and I think there was at one time another hub in Cape Girardeau.
Do we have any control over that? Isn't that?
I was going to say, I don't think we have control over that. That's up to the courier to have that or not. We can't make them do that, but I do think more hubs would definitely. I think there's a lot of factors at play. Like I said,
we could lobby for it if nothing else.
Does anyone know if the previous courier, if our transit times were the same, better, or worse? Does anyone know that? Diane, do you?
Yeah, I think it was about the same.
Okay.
And you can see there's a list of the hubs on the Missouri Evergreen website. So you can see the list of the 5 hubs that we're using right now. And in Joplin, we say we have 5 hubs, but Joplin, only serves Carthage, Neosho, Newton, and Webb City. So I don't really.
Is that under circulation?
I think it's on the main page.
It's on the main page for the hubs. I do know
resources.
Member resources, yeah.
Oh, member resources, okay.
I do know he's talking about the Joplin hub at a meeting that the local libraries in my area attend. And the Joplin hub we get mixed reports that it's got some issues.
Well, that's the hub that was putting things in the mail that they ended up in Indianapolis, right?
Yeah.
This is Jane from MALA, and the Joplin Hub has, it's been, I believe it's been all taken care of now. They had those problems with they're actually how they had things arranged in their warehouse, and these are Henry warehouses. So adding an extra one I'd have to converse. I don't know how many Henry warehouses are around the state, if we're using them all or not, about that Cape Girardeau one. But I believe Joplin's back operating correctly. Jake, how long ago was that you heard that?
We had a meeting about 3 weeks ago. It's just kind of hit and miss, and sometimes we got the same courier driver, sometimes we don't, and we just kind of hear the courier driver's opinions of things too. So
exactly, and some of the courier drivers are better than others, as in any kind of job situation. Terry asked a question about the bid. We have a one more year with Henry. It's on a 3-year contract. So it will come up, I think it expires in July it's either May or July. We're trying to move it to July because that follows our fiscal year and it follows our funding from the state library. So it'll be July 2022 that will either, re-up with Henry. The problem, as with every kind of job right now, they have trouble keeping some of their drivers. So some of those beloved drivers who do such a good job have moved on during the COVID time. So they're working on that. We have a new person out of for the whole Henry thing that seems to be a little more responsive than our last person. And then one of the people that was not very responsive is no longer with the company as of Tuesday. We talked to them on Monday and then they're gone on Tuesday. So I'm hoping that our constant trying to get them to figure out. The hard thing is it's just a kind of a different, they're a trucking company. So what they do is a different focus. So one of their big misunderstandings is that libraries like to know that, we like to have connections with our courier drivers and feel like they should have connections with us. And that's not always true with all of our over, the road truck people. And they also subcontract. So, by the time the driver is in your building, they're like 5 people away from MALA. They don't even know what MALA necessarily is. So if you have a problem, call us, because asking them is not really going to get you the right answer. Most likely. There are some that are really good and been there a long time, and I would trust them. But some of them are kind of, they do it for 6 months or a year and a half and move on. Yes, Steve?
Jay, I don't want to make you think that we're blaming Mala for this, because we're not. And I don't even know if we're blaming Henry. I guess my whole statement was basically that I don't know what the problem is, but clearly we have a problem because no one else, and everyone else has to deal with those same kind of issues that you mentioned with COVID and finding drivers. And these other states all have those same problems, obviously.
Yeah. And Steve, I would be interested if they mandate how many days a week they have service at those other places.
A couple of I have that results. I don't know without looking at it in front of me, but I know a couple of the consortia did do that. They required every member to have 5 days career, but most of them did not, though. I don't think. Now they might have done it on their own, but I just think, like I said, I know Diane kind of said that, well, her proximity holds committee was kind of doing this, but I think proximity holds is part of that equation. I still think we're going to recommend a committee be set up to look into not just proximity holds, but all the different factors that could be contributing to this. So I think it could be a combination of a lot of different things,
Oh, I definitely agree. And also the time of day of when they get pickups. I mean, because we can ask for that to be, Henry has, because they go out so many parts of the rural areas, sometimes that can't be changed just based on when they have to get to other places and how big their route is, but sometimes it can be. So, I'd be very interested in, hearing about that committee and giving any information I can, especially as we will be, going out for bid. So
and
we want to know, what, where the problems are and what, we can't solve things if we're if the real problem is just between these 4 or 5 parts of the Evergreen Consortium, it would be helpful for us to know that too.
Jane, when are you going out for bid? Did you already mention that and I missed it?
It's probably going to be like after the first of the year.
Okay. Okay.
So what we have heard from our, we do these annual surveys. So here's my plug to, there's still about 25 surveys out there, not all Evergreen branches or libraries, but we do have surveys out and we still have annual agreements out. So there's my plug for Mala. We foresee all prices of any contract we're going to have going up dramatically because the price of gas has gone up and some other things. So we're a little worried about that. And then we also have heard via going back and looking at the surveys that people reported that Henry has been a much better for most libraries in the state than the previous, and I can't remember the previous first
choice or something.
Yes, that's it. So, so sometimes we're in like the middle child year, we're in the second year of the contract. So we're acting like the middle child and demanding a little more attention instead of the middle child who is, amenable. So
when we did our member survey, the strategic planning committee did it. You guys, the Courier was actually reviewed very highly, so
yeah.
I mean, it had really good marks based on the survey.
Yeah, so I'm happy to hear that, Steve. So yeah, we are always looking for improvement, and if I'm happy to be the grease wheel with Henry, and it goes through Linda first, and then it comes to me to be their pester point. So don't hesitate to use that form on our website to report things. However, we have had and I don't think they're Evergreen libraries. We've had a couple that, they email 15 minutes after the delivery window. And then that ties up, 3 or 4 people looking at it. And in the meantime, the courier arrives within 20 more minutes. So give them a little bit of time. They go a long way mileage wise every day. So.
Is Henry the one that decides which libraries they will serve? For example, the Crawford County Library is served by the Springfield hub, but Crawford County is closer to the St. Louis hub.
Diane, that's an excellent question. I don't know that answer, but I'll look into it because that was all established. I just stepped in when those things were already established. So I will take a look at that.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm guessing Henry knows where their routes go, but I will ask.
I know it's a money issue, like we said, but I would love to see, as someone mentioned in chat, I think it was Ron. Ron did. I would love to see in the next specs and out for bid for a courier statewide for it include that they're required basically to have Cape Girardeau as a hub. I think that would help things immensely. We have a lot of members down in that area of the state.
Yeah. And again, Steve, I don't know what.
Sure. I know. I'm just saying. Yeah.
So and Diane, I'm going back. I think it was you asked. So Crawford is serviced by who now? I don't have it in front of me. Okay.
Springfield.
And they're closer to
St. Louis.
Yeah, they're like right. They border us. They're like right. Yeah. They're our southern neighbor, and they're going from Springfield, which is like 3.5 hours or 4 hours away, and St. Louis is like an hour from them.
Yeah, that seems crazy. I wonder if we just have some misinformation on that chart. That's what I'll look into that.
Yeah, it just might be worth it to just check all of the libraries and see if they're closer to a different hub.
Exactly. And first I'll check to make sure we've got the most recent operating one that you're showing me right there on the screen, because maybe there's already been, maybe they've made changes and no one's notified. So yeah, I will look into that. Thank you. Yeah, and call me anytime, call Linda. But that we're really responsive when if there's an immediate problem like delivery or they didn't come to that form, because that goes to all of us. So whether we're working at home that day or our phone line is, occupied, everybody in the office sees that. So, and thank you, Terry, for that. Now that we have Linda as our courier coordinator, I think in the last year, hopefully we're much more quick to respond because there's a person dedicated to that part-time every day.
And Jane, thank you for attending these meetings and providing this extra information for us to understand and consider in making decisions and moving forward. So.
Oh, and I love being included. So thank you for inviting me. I've been a librarian for a long time, so I missed some of this library talk. So I kind of love all the circulation talk and the cataloging talk. So I like hearing that, because, you know, I'm not always into the trucking business. So thanks a lot. And again, let us know if you have questions, just give us a buzz.
Any more discussion?
I just posted in the chat the survey results about the Courier, which I guess the first one I sent didn't look very good, but I'm going to send it again here. There we go. It just shows what the results were. It said that 40 of our 50 members said they were either satisfied or very satisfied with the Courier, and then another 6 members were neither. So it was very good grades, you know, for the Courier.
Hey, Steve, do you send that out? Is that a yearly thing as part of some other?
No, we just send it out as part of the strategic planning, although
Okay.
I think one of our recommendations is that we do an annual survey with similar questions. But when we send out our strategic plan report, which I'm hoping is going to be, will be this summer, in the appendix will be a lot, or we're having a link to all the survey results. So when you get that plan, I'm sure it'll go to you too. You can look at all the data that we have. We did 3 different surveys. We surveyed members, non-members, and then other consortia.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any more feedback for Diane or for the circulation committee? I guess I should say any more feedback for Meredith now that she'll be chair of that committee moving forward. If not, we'll move to reports. I don't believe Kyle, I think, gave me a heads up that he would not be at the meeting today. And I don't think that the new chair is on. But Kyle did reach out and say that Steve Erickson did commit to chair the reports committee for the next term from 2021 to 2023. And he is with Cass County. So I'm sure you'll be seeing lots of emails from Steve in the near future about reports and when the next meeting will be. So next on the agenda, Strategic Planning Committee with Steve Campbell.
You've already heard from me plenty, I'm sure, already today, but just a quick summary, the sentence or two is that we're working, we collected all our data. I mentioned the 3 types of data we collected just a minute ago with the 3 surveys. We've gone through all that data, which took us most of the time. We've compiled our recommendations based on our discussions about that data, and now we're in the process of trying to turn that into a plan that looks like a strategic plan, I guess you'd say. So I think probably, hopefully, we're meeting next week on Monday, I believe, hopefully, to go through all the data and try to figure out how we're going to organize it and organize in terms of organizing our recommendations. So I'm hoping, like I said just a minute ago, sometime this summer, we'll have our final document out, which will include links to all the data in our Google Drive or shared folders. So that's about it. It's coming along pretty good. I think we have a lot. Some of the recommendations, as I mentioned at the last board meeting here, are kind of moot now because we've already got ahead and done some of the things that we talked about recommending. So, I mean, there's some of that going on, but there's still quite a bit number of recommendations that I think are really going to be, you know, good. Some of them are just like a few recommendations that involve basically we need to appoint a committee to explore this further kind of thing, which is our way of punting, I guess. But it was just, they were issues that were just they were issues that needed to be identified, but they were too in depth for us as a committee to delve into them ourselves. So I think they need to be looked into further. One of which is, like I mentioned, the Courier Times.
I want to say thank you to Steve and to the Strategic Planning Committee. They put in a lot of time calling consortia to gather and compile data and to create surveys. And I think it's really going to be beneficial not only in the upcoming fiscal year, but in future years as well. I think we'll be able to use the information they're bringing forward for years to come to really shape Missouri Evergreen and to make it stronger. So thank you and it was Steve Campbell's idea, so I won't even take credit for the idea for a strategic planning committee. But I think it's really been a great, I think it's a great idea, and I think it's going to serve Missouri Evergreen well. So thank you.
We can only hope so. We'll see.
Does anyone have questions of Steve or the strategic planning committee? Or feedback? No? Okay, well, I'll turn it over to Colleen and as chair of the Personnel Committee.
You skipped Leanne on onboarding. Do you
thank
want to
you.
go to her first? I can go first.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Leanne. I am so sorry.
That's fine. Hi, everybody. I guess really the only thing on our agenda relating to onboarding is the travel reimbursement policy. And looks like Shannon's getting that up. And so we just need to see about getting this draft approved.
Leanne, my director had to step out, but she did mention that we don't have a maximum amount for the reimbursement, and she thought that we should put some sort of a cap on it. So that's some feedback I just received.
Okay, yeah, and I'm actually in agreement, I think, with that. I don't know, do we need to
set a maximum during this meeting and then approve it as revised if that's the only feedback we get?
I wouldn't even know what a good number would be.
Right, that's what I was going to ask, if anyone had a recommendation on what they thought it would be.
What was the question? The number for what?
A maximum reimbursement for travel.
Oh, well, do we want to, I mean, if they're following the state, I think their General Service Administration's, rates, I don't think we should cap it. I think it just depends on how much traveling they're doing, but as long as they're following that in terms of meals, hotel, mileage, I mean, it's going to set itself basically. They're just following the guidelines that exist.
Okay.
I don't know if you need to have a total cap or not, I don't think.
Okay.
I kind of agree with that. And I feel like if it was over a cap, like if we put $1,000 cap or whatever, and someone happened to go over it because they did have an extensive lodging or something like that, they would maybe just submit it in 2 different ones as, or something like that. But we do have it in there that we have to follow, per diems and all that stuff. So it does kind of seem like it takes care of itself.
And it says when, and the policy has when approved. So, when approved, ME will reimburse. So, if there is a question, we could say that.
And advance approval, yeah.
Does it say the trip needs to be approved in advance, or you mean approving the actual reimbursement request? Let me see here. I'm looking at it here more closely.
It says advance approval.
In advance, okay. So if you're approving the trip, so say for example, Ron wants to go and do a cataloging demo for a library, and then we'd have to approve it in advance before the board would, before he could do it and get reimbursed. So I think that is a safeguard, because we're not going to let anyone go on a 2-week trip to a bunch of libraries, to run up a gigantic travel bill,
If these things require a board vote, do we have to wait for a board meeting, or is the board going to be able to vote on?
I say email.
Okay.
I think that says we only have to have advance approval if it's travel outside of the state. Does it say?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You're right. Well, you do have an abuse mechanism at the bottom, that if someone is abusing the policy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you'd think if a library was going to go ahead and do a trip, they would ask if there's a chance the board could turn down their request, if it was too big. Because we can deny requests, can't we? We have to approve these requests.
Right. And I believe that's in the third.
So I mean, if a library thought they were, if a library thought they were going to do something that was going to run up a huge travel bill, and they were afraid it wouldn't get reimbursed because we're going to reject it, you'd think they'd ask it. I mean, I'm not going to go do a demo unless I talk to Shannon about it. For example, a demo for multiple libraries or whatever,
Well, it looks like you have to approve that Missouri Evergreen approves the reimbursement, and it says when budget allows also in there. So
if we don't like the request, we don't have to accept it. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I'm afraid it's worded so though that it's after the fact. It's not advance approval, and it's approval of a reimburse, not of, you know what I mean?
I would suggest that if someone's going to do something that's going to get reimbursed, they should ask Shannon or whoever's chair first before they go ahead and do it, if they're worried about that,
So we need to just say we need advanced
approval
for it, regardless of whether it's out of state or not.
Well, I don't think they have to get official approval, but they should definitely, I would just think they would run it by the board anyway, just to make sure it was something the board wanted them doing,
You know how policy is though. It's a CYA in case.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm thinking.
You need to have something in there for the somebody that's not going to read it that way.
That's what I think too.
You should add something to it to the effect of travel plans should be submitted in advance, not travel,
Yeah.
but travel plans should be submitted in advance to the board
For preliminary approval or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, travel plans, not expenses, travel plans.
It would even be fine just having it submitted to the chair of Evergreen to as a preliminary approval. It wouldn't necessarily be a final approval, but at least the chair would be aware then and could say, hey, I think this is going to be too much. We can't really afford this.
It would make sense for me to travel down to Cape Girardeau when there's another member library closer.
Exactly. Yeah.
That kind of thing. So that kind of covers that. Preliminary travel plans need to be directed to the chairman before travel arrangements are made.
Or should be. Yeah. 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 I think a sentence about that would clear everything up.
You got all that, Leanne?
Yeah, I'm trying to take this. So yeah, basically we just need to add, a statement essentially saying that travel plans should be submitted to the Missouri Evergreen Executive Committee for preliminary approval.
I was just going to ask Tracy, and then Tracy left a comment. I was going to say, Tracy, what do you think about this? Having an approval process in place will protect your treasurer when he or she, okay.
So you would have us cut a check to some person and you have no paperwork to, if you ever had a review or an audit, and I'm not saying that this is a bad process, I'm just saying you want as many protections in place as to, and just a half a page form as to the intent of the travel and the dates. And
so you're wanting a form, attached to this, Tracy, right? That's what you're saying?
I would.
Yeah, we probably need that. That's a good point. We do a form probably attached to this.
I could send Shannon. We have a super easy travel form at Amigos. I could send that to Shannon or to another person. I'm happy to share it. It's like 5 lines.
Yeah, I think we've got something.
Okay. Yeah, just something to have, because for us to cut a check to somebody, I'm always thinking I kind of want a little something to
paperwork. You should have some kind of paper trail. Yeah, I agree with that totally. And then they can sign it then to attest to the fact that it's not false or anything like that.
We do have one. I should have put it in the meeting packet. This is kind of what we were thinking. We were trying to get the policy passed first, and then I was going to come back with the form. So we did try to put together a form that a library would submit with the reimbursement request.
And what about an approval form?
Then the policy should then refer to the forms required to submit a request. You have to complete these forms, that. I mean,
you could just say in the policy that you should submit an email with the intent of your travel. I don't know if you want a approval form or just a approval email, but some kind of a trail that said, hey, Shannon said I could do this.
Yeah. I'm fine with the chair. So I think it was Kate that mentioned about having to vote. And I said, well, we could vote by email, but if every time we get a request with the vote by email, that might be a little, tedious. I think I'd be totally fine if the chair would send an email or something with the person's intent, like Tracy said, and the chair says it's okay for them to go ahead and do the trip. And then the board gives official approval for the reimbursement later. I think that process would be fine with me. I don't know about anybody else. Anyone else?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I think I'm okay with that too.
Tracy, is that not being just having them email the chair and the chair verbally or via email, I guess, give go ahead. Is that okay? Or does it need to be a approval in advance and then an approval for the reimbursement later?
No, I think the email at the beginning is good, and Shannon could always just PDF it and send it to us, and we'll just save it.
Okay.
I think we don't need a whole nother form here, but I PDF tons of emails, and that's a fine paper trail, so that way you have it on record.
So can I make a motion to approve this policy as amended to include a reference to the forms being necessary to submit a request, and also a sentence about needing to email the chair and get approval by email prior to a travel on behalf of Missouri Evergreen, I guess?
I second that. This is Sue Lightfoot.
Any discussion? Any further discussion, I should say? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Are there any opposed? No. Leanne, did you have any other information from the onboarding committee?
No, not really at this point. I will try to meet. I was not able to get one scheduled for this month, but we will meet the first week in July.
Okay.
Steve, what was the second part of your motion?
It was adding language about emailing the chair in advance of a travel, some kind of travel on behalf of Missouri Evergreen. Getting approval via email from the chair.
And also submitting the travel.
Yeah, the first one
form.
was mentioning the forms. Yeah, the first thing was mentioning forms. Yeah.
Okay.
Just referring back to them as to needing to complete the forms as a requirement for submitting a request for reimbursement.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions for Leanne or for the onboarding committee? The onboarding committee is doing an amazing job with getting every new migrating library has a Missouri Evergreen migration team assigned to them to help walk them through that process. And that's all come out of the onboarding committee. So the committee's done a really wonderful job, and they do have a lot of work, and it's a large time commitment. So I want to say thank you to all of those that are serving on the onboarding committee or as the Missouri Evergreen migration team. 1 second.
Right, I really appreciate all the libraries that have helped out with the upcoming migrations. They've really been doing a great job.
If there's no, excuse me, if there's no further discussion for Leanne, we'll move to this time for real to Colleen Knight for the Personnel Committee. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Well, we were tasked with looking at the future of adding personnel to Missouri Evergreen. When we got to work, we started running into some stumbling blocks. Missouri Evergreen has none of the normal HR functions that you would have when you have employees. We had no personnel policies. We have no payroll abilities. We have no workers' comp insurance. We have no employment practices insurance. And so we also started looking at the budget to determine whether we could afford the cost of even one employee with the extra, and whether it would be worth it with the extra administrative costs that they're going to be involved with an employee. And then a meeting with the state library took place, and it changed our entire focus. Using ARPA funds, the state library, excuse me, my throat's closing up, informed Shannon and myself that a grant was potentially available to fund a full-time cataloger for 1 year. We hastily said, yes, we are very interested. And that the opportunities allowed us to move in a different direction. Since this is going to be just a 1 year grant funded position, we changed the focus from just a cataloger, but to somebody who can train cataloging by creating training content, do virtual training, hopefully do some in-person training, create the certification process that the cataloging policies require and that Kate would really like us to do. Hopefully, and then do some catalog cleanup, but that would not be their main focus. Their main focus would be training and the recertification process, because it is only a 1 year position. So we're looking at more of, if teaching a man to fish rather than just feeding the fish. The hope is that eventually funds can be found to continue to this position in some fashion after the first year is up. After some clarification from the state library, we can hire this person as a contract cataloger using a 1099. So that will help with the administration costs such as workman's comp, all the different other things if we just do it as a contract. We are still in the process of doing a salary survey, And of course, we'll still have to write the grant, but the process is moving along. The personnel committee is recommending that the actual interviewing and supervision would come from the cataloging committee. With the committee giving the executive board recommendation on who to hire and keep the executive board informed of the progress. Because we feel that the cataloging committee would have more of an idea of what they're looking for. We are going to be requiring an MLS. And then we also started looking at, we've had discussions of a director for Missouri Evergreen. Shannon and I took what we had been doing as chair in the last 3 years and took a look at what our duties were as chair and how they have changed in the last 3 years and how to alleviate some of that responsibility. We also could use the same 1099 form contract for a director. We debated on the title because director really, they wouldn't be supervising really anyone. So we thought director might be a kind of a misnomer. So we were leaning right now toward a title of operational manager. But that's, you know, and we're looking at job descriptions for that. And when we get to that point would be supervised by the executive board and not the, you know, another, but that's kind of where we're at right now. As I said, we're still in the process of doing the salary survey. Of course, we still have to write the grant. Our thought is since I have to write the next grant here in the next 2 months for our regular LSTA grant, is to include that portion within that, so I only have to write 1 grant. I do have, we have contacted Jason Goodwin up at Goodson over at Equinox to give us a quote for next year's hosting and support. And so we're beginning that process of doing the regular grant writing. So to make my job easier, it's just, I was going to include that, but what that does is it puts off actually hiring that person till September. Mm-hmm. Now I can go ahead, if you want me to, if the Missouri membership wants me to go ahead, I can write that grant separately and we could possibly get that process started sooner. But that's up to you guys.
You mean, okay, I know I'm on this committee, but I know I missed a meeting. You're saying the person would start in September as of right now, or the process to hire them would start in September?
We could do the process to hire, but we couldn't sign anything until we got awarded the grant.
I mean, I think even if we decided to go ahead and start paying the person or like having a person in place in September, it's going to take us a couple months to even get the person interviewed and the job post everything anyway. So
yes, I agree. It will. So I don't think it'll slow us up, but maybe a month by including it on the other grant, because no, we could not spend any money, just like any other grant. You can't sign a contract with this person or do anything until the other grant is written and approved. So that would put it September, because the other grant is usually has a September 1st start date. So you could not hire this person before September 1st. You could not sign a contract with them before that.
Will you clarify something for me? Are we talking about the cataloger or are we talking about the operational manager?
This is just the cataloger. The operational manager, the personnel committee is on very early stages.
Okay, thank you.
Also, clarification, we can start potentially looking for someone beforehand and all that. But if we had to pay for advertising, I mean, which I assume we're not going to have to do that. We'll just put it on, you know, all the listservs and all of that stuff.
Yeah, if we had to pay for advertising, yeah. We also were looking at including in this grant a laptop and any software that they might need for their training, to create their training software. So the tools of their trade.
Colleen, I know I'm on your committee again, but I've got this answer as well. So I want you to answer for everyone. Did we talk about this person potentially being from any state? Like they could live anywhere because it's remote, or we want them in Missouri?
It is, I mean, that's up to the cataloging committee as far as what they get in as far as applicants. Conceivably, most of it could be remote because you can create training, do Zoom, do myself. I would prefer, I mean, but this is just me. I would prefer having somebody that can go to some of these smaller libraries that don't have personnel to go to do training. But that would be in-person visits. But most of it could be done remote. I mean, I would say even once we hire them, most of their job is remote, you know, creating training, creating the certification process. But myself, I would prefer a little bit of in-person training to the smaller libraries that can't afford it.
I think having them in Missouri makes a lot of sense. They can work from home. I think they need to be in the state. Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily a requirement, depending on what the cataloging committee gets as applicants.
I think a lot of it has to do with applicants because I did not know that you were going to require an MLS, which I am not mad at. But that, of course, lessens the pool dramatically. So
it does. We thought about, and this, like I said, we thought about not having a MLS and just having experience required, an MLS preferred. But that's, yeah. We had talked about an MLS, but it does dramatically lower the pool of what would be available.
Well, we always can revisit it if we can't find anyone, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, and looking for a contractor puts a different spin on it as well. You could different types of people. Colleen, if this is ARPA funds, is there a deadline for when you have to use them? That's why we had to hustle with MoLib to go, because I mean, they've got to be used. But I don't know if that's for all the grants or just some.
It certainly applies. Go ahead, Janet.
I was going to say for ARPA funds have to be spent by September 30th, 2022.
Which this would be done because we would start September 1st, September 2021. And so that would end at August 31st.
Perfect.
Yep.
So we would be okay there.
So we need to have them hired by September 1 so we can have them paid for 12 months and end by 2022.
Yes.
Either that or we could write it in a contract. They get paid twice a year.
I don't know why we can't get someone by September. I mean, I think we could have some. I mean, I think that gives us almost 3 months. We have 3 months basically to get someone in place in order to get them done, get them finished up by the September 20-something deadline in 2022. So we really have a solid 3 months. I think that's very reasonable.
I think it's doable.
I think it's doable, but especially since the cataloging committee is going to be in charge of doing this or whatever,
we need to hand it off to you soon. Is that what you're saying?
Well, we're assessing 3 more libraries catalogs and, I mean, all before September 1st as well.
Yeah, that is true. We hadn't considered that workload, but yeah, I had been hearing a little bit from my cataloger.
Well, what will the cataloging committee be needing to do? I mean, I'm not being sarcastic here. So, I mean, like, for example, any library, for example, my library, anybody could take the job and post it and decide where we're going to put it and then put it out there to advertise, collect the resumes. And then, of course, the catalog committee will have to review those resumes and interview people. I'm not discounting the amount of effort that takes. But is there anything I'm missing besides that?
I guess the pre stuff, I guess, isn't going to take that much time. I mean, but we essentially have to train this person once they are hired,
Sure, yeah, well, but that can happen in September. And
right.
October. That really can go on in September, October. The main thing is getting in place by September 20th or 10th or whatever it is.
We couldn't actually hire them before September 1st. So, then hopefully you'll have a little bit of a lull from, I never count on lulls. They never happen. Something else.
I mean, if Evergreen's willing to reimburse us, I'd be happy to have our HR department do the posting. If you tell me where you want it at, if it's just Missouri, then we can focus on Missouri. I know there's the MALA website, there's Jobline for MLA. We use Indeed a lot, honestly, for jobs, but I don't know if this is the best spot for that. I think if we're looking for professional cataloger, probably just those two, and then maybe like Mizzou has a job page, I think, too. So I mean, we can. My HR person can do that. So if that's going to take time away from the cataloging the committee not having to do it, we're happy to do that for the group if you tell us what to do.
Can I jump in here and say, Kate, how many people serve on the cataloging committee right now?
6. Is that 7?
7. Is that right?
Yeah.
So is this a good time during this meeting to ask libraries to have some staff join the cataloging committee to help with some of this work? I know we've had a call out for committee members. We've asked for volunteers. Is this an opportunity? Maybe even if they don't serve a full year on the cataloging committee, could they commit 6 months to help get through this amount of work? Does that
without a lot of yakety yak? No.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, and so kind of that's where we're at. We're meeting again next week, and hopefully we'll nail down some of all the stuff on the cataloger soon, and get that ready to go, and get those job postings posted. Is kind of where we're at this moment.
When does the cataloging committee meet next? Or
well, our main meeting is Monday. But we don't generally, we call special meetings as far as committee only meetings.
Gotcha. And your main meeting is Monday?
It's Monday, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions or feedback for the personnel committee? No? Okay. Well, then I will turn it over to the nominating committee. Steve Campbell, were you chair of that, or was that?
I'm on it. I don't know if I was chair or not. I can't remember. We didn't really operate in a chairman-like fashion. We just kind of had a few of us, I think. I think Jeff Trinkle was actually on the committee, and then I was, and then someone else. No offense to whoever it was that I forgot your name, but I think there was someone else involved too. Oh, Sue also was that. Yes. And it was a very easy effort because Shannon told us that Kate volunteered, had nothing to do with us. So that was one nominee. And then Jeff Trinkle was on the committee, and I immediately said, Jeff, you were one of the people I had in mind to be on the board. And he goes, oh, I'd be delighted to do that. And then was Rebecca one of our nominees, or was she already appointed? I felt like she was already appointed. No?
I was already on.
That's what I thought. Yes, I thought. Yeah. So anyway, so it was very easy work. It took us maybe, I think, a very short amount of time. So there's our slate. Jeff, Rebecca, and Kate. It was no work at all. Let's just be honest.
So I think according to our bylaws, we take a vote of the membership to elect the new board members for the next 3-year term. So I would entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion. Jake Webb City.
Actually, it came out of committees, but that's great. A second?
Do like that. Second.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion or input on the slate of, or on the nominations, I should say? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Welcome Kate, and welcome Jeff, and welcome back Rebecca.
Hooray.
Okay, we've already, Amigo's already reported on the services renewal and the services they've quoted. So I would like to turn it over to the Missouri State Library to see if they had an update for us this morning.
Yeah, thanks, Shannon. Robin's not with us today. She's out of the office, so I'll be just giving a little bit of update. So we talked about a little bit already this morning of what Colleen said about the cataloger. So the ARPA funds for the cataloger have been approved, and we're happy to hear that it'll be incorporated into the grant. That way you don't have to write another grant and we don't have to approve another grant. So keeping it all condensed is nice. And for clarification on the timeline for the ARPA funds, that is September 30th, not September 1st. So, if you start, September 5th or September 15th, you still have plenty of time to get them paid within the ARPA timelines. The automation grants for the new members, the status on Cedar County and Rolla, they are in the final stages of review and approval. And I know we work hard on getting those through quickly, though there's like 4 people in library development that review them, and then they also have to go upstairs to the Secretary of State's. So it does take some time, but they are in the final stages, and hopefully we'll know in the next few days and have them and know as, yes, they're approved. We just have to have, that final signature. So, Reynolds County, for their automation grant, their login credentials have been created in the online grant system. So they can actually start writing their grant now. And state library staff and Shannon met with Pat Rainwater and Megan from Reynolds County probably about a month ago to kind of talk about the grant process and all the information they needed and what equipment could be included on the grant. So I think at this point they're pretty good of being able to start their grant. I think they have most information that they need, but if they need more information, we're happy to help with them with that. And then I'm also interested and excited to be able to work with Missouri Evergreen and Mala on the career and see what we can do to help make that resource sharing quicker and better for you guys. So we'll be interested to see what information and data you get from Equinox and what Jane hears from Henry about hubs and things like that. So we'll do what we can to help with that too. That's all the report here. Any questions?
Thank you so much. I appreciate you attending the meetings and keeping us up to date on what's happening out of the Missouri State Library.
You're welcome.
Thank you for allowing me to. Oh, hang on, my camera just. Thank you for allowing me to create this all in one grant. It will definitely help.
You're welcome.
Are there any other matters to come before the membership this morning?
Maybe just my change in position.
Yes.
No, yeah, I emailed the executive board about my upcoming change in positions. I'm leaving Carrollton Public Library on July 30th, but I begin in Livingston County on August the 1st. As a treasurer and also as an executive board member, I didn't know if I needed to be resubmitted or how that needs to work according to our bylaws and things like that.
I think so.
I think I'm moving from one Evergreen library to another
Yeah,
Evergreen
I don't,
library.
like we said in the emails, I don't think it's an issue at all. I think you're just serving, it's you serving on the board, not your library.
I think you can't have more than one board member from the same library.
From the same library, sure, yeah.
But that's not going to be an issue, I don't think either. So I think we're absolutely fine. But congratulations.
Yes, thank you. I'm excited.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
When is your start date again?
August 1st.
August 1st, okay.
Any other matters?
Are there any new directors that are on the call today?
Oh, thanks, Terry. I know they were on earlier. So Cedar County or Rolla, Jamesville?
Yes, Cedar County's here.
Hi. It's that.
Hey, Shannon, this is Meredith. Going back to what you were saying, does it matter? I was just looking at your list that you shared that Kate will be on the board and that I will be on there as the circulation, but that's ex officio since we're from the same library. That's not a conflict.
That's not a conflict since it's ex officio.
Okay,
Correct.
awesome. Thought so, but I wanted to double check. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good morning, Elena. I guess I should start saying good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
I would like the executive board to hang around. We need to elect the slate of officers for next year, but if there's no other matters to come before the board, I am not an authority on Robert's Rules of Order. Do we adjourn and then go into a board meeting? Does anyone want to guide me in this process?
Yes.
Yes.
Sue Lightfoot moves to adjourn the open session and go to the executive session at
Second that. Steve
12:04.
seconds that. Yeah, 12:04. Jeez, it's a long meeting.
It is. Yeah.
Hi.
Hi. Any opposed? Thank you so much. I know it's a long meeting. I appreciate you hanging in there for these marathon meetings.
Shannon, I know Sue Stosak had said something last time we had a meeting, just saying that maybe we should have, you know, every other month for these meetings, we have 2-hour meetings.
Yes, I know.
Every
and
other month.
I know.
I know none of us want to add another monthly meeting, but having a 2-hour meeting every other month, is that really any better?
Having a 1 hour every month, I don't know.
When
I'm sorry.
Steve was chair, I used to complain about the 2-hour meetings and say, well, I'm chair, I won't do that. Yeah, when I'm chair, I did that. And Shannon's had to too. So maybe going to a monthly meeting might be our better
I don't even
option.
know if that would make them any shorter, honestly.
Yeah, I don't either. I'm glad that everyone has discovered that it wasn't me that was making the meetings long. We got stuff to get done, you know, we got stuff to get done. It takes, you know.
Takes time.
All right, so let's get this go. Let's start.
Okay, wonderful. So
Sue's hungry.
Yes.
I am.
So Ron Eifert has agreed to serve as vice chair. Sue Lightfoot agreed to continue as treasurer, and Rebecca Payne, bless her dear heart, everyone send her flowers after this, agreed to serve as secretary next year. So Rebecca, put your address in the chat. We're all sending you flowers after this meeting's over.
Not to make this longer, but so we're changing it up because we didn't have vice chair before, correct?
Yes, we did.
We did.
Yes.
Yeah, we've always had a vice president. Yeah.
So I will offer to serve another year as chair, but I will open the floor for nominations for chair or volunteers as chair.
I agree with Steve. That's funny.
That's awesome that you tried. It's good. It's worth the effort, right? An A for effort.
Right. Exactly. So that's our slate of officers. I don't know how. Do we need we need a motion? I don't think it should be.
Motion. So like the motions to accept the slate of officers as presented.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Now do we have to adjourn from our executive session?
Yes, and we also need some flowers to you, Shannon, too.
Yes,
yes. Agreed.
Shannon needs flowers.
I move to adjourn the executive session.
Thank you, Kate. A second for that.
Sue Lightfoot, seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Have a great rest of your
lunch.
Bye, guys.
Yay.
Bye.
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 Bye.